Just out of curiosity, have any of you folks actually heard of Pacer Pro before or done any work with it?
No.
Okay.
I have not.
No.
Okay, very good. So we have created an overlay to the Pacer system, which was primarily directed at lawyers. But having been around this long enough, everybody is trying to actually kind of get better access to Pacer information and Pacer documents, etc. And so the workflow that an attorney goes through is not necessarily kind of entirely unique. And so what you have here when you land on Pacer Pro is the My Cases page. And really what our focus has been on better case and document management. Very quickly, what we believe you should have the ability to do, sorry, I've got too many different screens open here, is you should be able to jump directly to your docket sheet and have much more advanced tools to actually working with the docket sheet and finding entries. So this is the Apple Samsung docket. It was last updated 11 hours ago. And what's interesting about this case is we actually have attorneys of record on the case. One of our clients is Quinn Emanuel, and they have been getting, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the notices of electronic filing. Is that correct? Yeah, I'm sure, as you guys know, when you're an attorney involved in litigation, whenever something new gets filed, you get an email from the court, and the email contains that kind of bare description of what was filed, and you get a hyperlink and a free copy of whatever document or documents that were filed. So because we have Quinn attorneys on this case, we're actually getting updates in real time. And if you wanted to follow the case and schedule updates to come to you, whenever they came in, day, night, weekend, you'd not only get the kind of bare description from the court, but you actually would also get the free look PDFs. And this is kind of what it looks like. This is another case of ours, McMahon Way, where the assessment firm's involved. And so this is what those free look emails look like. You've got kind of a brief description, and then you've got all the documents right here. So rather than having to log in and figure out what the documents are actually saying, you get copies sent directly to your email inbox. We're also getting ready to release a new feature, which is our case feed. And this would allow you to actually have a web page open from Pacer Pro with desktop alerts. As things came in live, you would be able to log into the site and actually look at the documents as they hit the wire, as it were. Right? So again, just kind of really easy, transparent access to your cases and documents. Pacer Pro is pretty straightforward. There's two aspects to it. You have the My Cases page, which is the hub, and then you have the ability to run searches directly across any of the district courts, any of the bankruptcy courts, the courts of appeal, or to leverage the case locator service. To run a search across one or more district courts, you just begin typing in the name of the courts. And unlike other services, what we're doing is we actually go directly to each of the district courts, and we'll run your searches for you. Like Pacer, you're able to search for a name that means an individual or a company or an attorney's name. The court doesn't allow you to search by a judge. You can also search by a case number. You can limit your results based on the nature of suit if you want to. You can choose the filing date range, i.e. when the case was opened with the court, last 6 months, year, 5 years, 10 years, custom search. I'm not sure if the AP requires you guys to input a client matter number, but to the extent that the AP tries to keep track of your Pacer bills, this is where you'd actually put in a Pacer bill, client matter number. Unlike Pacer, we actually preserved the last, I think at this point, 100 or so searches that you ran. I'm going to look for one of my older searches. I ran a search looking for Uber across the case locator service. As you can see here, we do a little bit more with the Pacer information that we pull back from the courts. So on the right-hand side, you can see some data visualization, and I assume everybody can see my screen okay? Is it refreshing nicely enough? Right.
Yep.
So there's three kind of things we do. I mean, on the left-hand side, first of all, when we pull back the case locator results, I'm sure you've all run across this. Case locator oftentimes have duplicate hits, meaning that a party can be both a plaintiff and a cross-defendant and all the rest of it. And for case locator purposes, they treat those as different types of results, even though they're the same case. We normalize that data so that you don't have as many extraneous hits. Instead, we kind of group all the people who matched the names for the case. On the left-hand side, you have all the filters that you can begin to apply. You can run actually multiple filters simultaneously. So let's say I want to look at the civil cases, multi-district cases. I want to see cases open versus closed, but as I'm sure you know, that designation isn't always all that helpful because the case can be closed for years and still have lots of litigation ongoing. You can begin to break it down by the nature of suit. Say, for example, I was interested in contract cases, potentially antitrust cases. Again, with the nature of suit stuff, when the cases are filed, you get to choose one nature of suit, and that's not necessarily representative of all the different things that could be going on. So it's oftentimes a good idea to actually choose kind of groups of information so you don't miss something. As you can see here on the right-hand side, the data on the left hand is beginning to change. The map of the U.S. where the hits are going up is changing. If I want to dive in and see, for example, specific types of litigation that are occurring in California, I can go back out. I want to see kind of, does it matter for purposes of Uber's litigation if they're a defendant versus a plaintiff? Begin to kind of narrow that information down. And then you have the ability to kind of pick and choose the right names that matched. Pacer has the O'Hara problem, meaning that O'Hara can be spelled any number of different ways. O''Hara, O space Hara, O'Hara, one word. Each one's going to give you different results. Because the case locator searches are so cheap, and Pacer searches in general are very cheap, we encourage you to run broader searches and then narrow it down with these advanced search tools. Any questions so far? Please let me know if I'm going too fast. And then you can kind of see on a year-by-year basis the total kind of volume of litigation involving the party. So the numbers on the bottom are the new cases that are filed. You can see kind of on a year-by-year basis the total volume of litigation. You can organize it by which cases have been most recently active. You always have the ability to directly dive in and see the cases. This is a newer case for us. It's not yet in the system. One thing I should back up and tell you, the way Pacer Pro works, any docket sheet or any document that's been pulled back by any of our users, once it's in the system, we make it freely available to everybody else. You can also generate a report if you wanted to do that. Keep track of kind of what you looked at, how you filter down the information, which might be a helpful tool as you're kind of compiling your stories. You can see where the case hit, the court, the judge, nature of suit, what name matched. We also try and grab, if we can, the free information pertaining to how many docket entries there are. There's always a link that takes you to the case on Pacer Pro, and then you also have an idea here of when you ran the search. I ran that Uber search back on the 18th of February. Here's what I searched for. Here's what I filtered by. So again, just little tools to help streamline your ability to go back on your research trail. If I wanted to follow the case, I would simply add this. If I think this is an important case that I want to share with somebody else, I can do that. And this will send you a email with a direct link to the docket sheet on Pacer Pro. Is there anything anybody would like to look for on Pacer Pro? Any parties or individuals?
Could you do the Apple case?
Sure, which one?
The one that's pending in California. It's pursuant to a search warrant.
Yeah, so actually that's a very interesting case. We actually have an attorney on that case. So This is the San Bernardino case I assume you're talking about.
Yep, that's the one. I saw it in the list and I happen to be working on it.
Yeah, so if you actually follow this case, what is your email address?
It's tabdola@ap.org.
T-Abdola, sorry.
I'll spell it out. T-A, B as in boy.
Yep.
D as in David.
Okay.
O-double-L-A-H.
Okay.
@ap.org.
Type of dangerous. And so I'm going to send the free look document to you.
Perfect.
And actually, I should probably do this real quick. And if you wanted to, so the way, okay, so what's happening here is whenever a new hit's going to come in this case, you're going to get that email with the PDF attached or PDF attached as soon as it hits. Right?
Cool.
And that's because we actually have an attorney of record on the case. If we didn't have an attorney of record on the case using our free look service, you can always schedule updates for cases, and you can have it update once a day, every other day, weekly or monthly. Right? And what that means is that typically 3 a.m. EST, we have a batch job that runs that goes on to each of the Pacer Court websites and pulls back the docket sheets. To the extent there's something new that's been filed in the case or modified docket entry, you'll get an email alert from Pacer Pro describing what the entry was or what the change was, etc. You can always go back to Pacer Pro and pull back down the documents. But that's for really kind of what we describe for our attorneys as third-party litigation, stuff they're not directly involved in. Most courts were able to tell you for free whether or not there are updates. Like, for example, in this Microsoft case, there are 750 new entries available since the last time somebody pulled the docket sheet. And there's just certain ways on Pacer to kind of figure out with the case without actually pulling the docket report back how many new entries there are. So if you didn't want to necessarily incur the cost of updating the docket sheets all the time, you could simply track the case, and then when you see this new update, you go in and hit sync. And we go out and pull a copy of the docket sheet. An updated version.
Hey, Gavin, this is Kurt Anderson in Miami. Can I ask a question about that?
Sure, not a problem.
Hey, so the when you do that, when you have a case where, again, Pacer Pro, your attorneys aren't involved, at what point in that process you just described do we incur fees? Would it be when we actually get the document, or the notification, is that free? Just to say if there's new stuff in there?
So the free look emails like this one here for the McManaway case, you would never incur any cost, right? Because we got the free. So in effect, what we're doing is we're added as a secondary recipient to the attorney's ECF profile, and so the attorney's allowed to have any number of additional kind of recipients. And what we're doing is we're helping, just for your own edification, the way most law firm works, particularly the AM 100 and 200. The attorneys oftentimes aren't the ones clicking the links to get the free look documents. It's typically support staff, paralegal, document, etc. And so those people get a second email that's identical to the one the attorney gets that contains a hyperlink to the courts. Now, we've automated the process of retrieval, and then we allow that distribution list to send it to everybody on the trial team. For your guys' purposes, with AP, you can log in, find a case, subscribe to it, and then say, we want the free look documents. And to the extent we've got people on the case, we can start pushing the documents out to you, right? And at that point, you won't ever incur any charges. Now, you incur charges with Pacer Pro just as you would on Pacer when you schedule updates, right? So if you want us to go pull a copy of the docket sheet back, that's when you're going to incur a charge. If a document hasn't yet been pulled into the system, that's where you're going to incur a charge.
Okay. Yeah, I understand that. All right.
Sure.
I just wanted to make sure, because I know that's the larger. Although this is very helpful in terms of organizing things and so forth, much better. It's the cost is the thing they're much interested in. So I was just curious about that part. Okay.
Yeah. No, and again, there's a host of tools. For example, I'm going to use this case just because I happen to know it better. I'm sure you've all been on a docket sheet before with Pacer, and all there is to search the docket sheet is the Control F search. Meaning you can look for one word or contiguous words that needs to be the browser. With Pacer Pro, you have viewer 10, I'll answer your question here in a second. Let me just quickly go through here with regards to company versus defendant. Let's say, for example, I was looking for a very particular order in this case. I can run a Boolean search. Imagine I wanted to find the order which dissolved the preliminary injunction. I go order, signed, preliminary injunction, and then I know the judge's name is Lucy Coe, so I type in Coe. You can see right now there's more than 3,513 total docket entries. I hit return, and I'm down to 14 results. I can flip the order from oldest to newest. As I hover over the docket entries, to the extent there are underlying documents, you'll see click to view documents. I click it. This document's already part of the system, so it says now available and free. It means I won't incur any cost to look at the PDF. Right? And then you have the ability, to the extent you need to do kind of more of a bulk download. I mean, there's a number of different entries you want to look at. Like, say, I want to see the orders signed not Great Wall. And I don't know, maybe pertaining to summary judgment. The ability to select all. Let's grab these. So I can pull back multiple, and the ones here that I'm saying I'm pulling back and retrieving, I'm going to incur my normal pacer fees for those. It's just I don't have to go through and do it one by one, and I can create a zip file and download it all. And here are my PDFs. With respect to how did you search with the company as defendant versus plaintiff? Let's go back and run a search. Again, is there any company or person we'd like to take a look at? Anybody have any ideas?
Bill Cosby?
Horizon.
I heard Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
This
is Mary Claire, Philadelphia.
Let's do the Pacer Case Locator, because the Case Locator service is a really good one to use if you're not exactly sure where somebody may have been involved in litigation. The kind of drawbacks of using the Case Locator service is that it trails by 24 to 72 hours any new case filing, meaning that the case just got opened in a particular district or bankruptcy court. It won't show up on the search for a few days.
But new entries would if it were a pre-existing case?
Yeah, so again, always look. The Case Locator service is really kind of we call it our litigant profiler, which means if I'm looking to see, for example, where Bill Cosby is involved in litigation, it's going to know each of the times he was involved in a case as a party, defendant, plaintiff, etc. Let's try Bill, although we may want to come back and...
It's probably William. Yeah.
Okay. And then we're not going to put a date range, because what's nice about the Case Locator search is that we can tell up front when we get our first kind of hits back how much the total search is going to cost us. And by and large, the Case Locator searches are very cheap. I mean, I ran one of the more expensive searches I ran was I did a search for Ford Motor Credit Company for a 1-year period, and they had more than, I think, 6,700 hits that came back, and it cost about $12. But most of the time, your searches are going to be, anywhere from 20 cents to, a couple dollars. It's just really de minimis. AP. Okay, so 87 total results, 20 cents. I'm going to hit continue loading. So what we're doing here, just to understand the process, we're going to the Case Locator, we're hitting it, but then we're also going to the individual district and bankruptcy courts to the extent that's where the hits are coming from, and figuring out who the judge is and how the total number of docket entries. So we have a bit more information as you're kind of looking at the results to help you determine, there's probably more of a developed case here. There's probably more filings. I probably want to take a look at this case as opposed to another case. Or if you had some other kind of identifying information, like want to see all the cases in front of Judge William Alsup, you'd be able to see that. So we have our results back. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, could I ask a question about looking, searching under bankruptcy proceedings?
Sure.
If you're not looking for the person who filed, or the entity that filed for, say, Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, but you're looking for someone involved as a creditor, can you do that?
Sure. The way Pacer Pro works right now, you would just put in the name of the individual that you were looking for. If you went directly to Pacer and went to the bankruptcy court, you do have the option of saying, I only want to see this person in the role of creditor. We don't put that option in our system. The reason being is it's kind of a more complicated procedure to pull back those types of results. We certainly can tell you when the hits come back what the role is. And again, we're looking for more comprehensive rather than less comprehensive, because sometimes people get misidentified.
Okay. So you would just put in the name of the person that you were looking for in any kind of bankruptcy court proceeding, and then that would it would just
and
come
then
up.
then I would narrow it down from there.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sure. So here, looks like he's involved in 36 cases, 2 criminal cases. Let's go check on the name category first and see what we're dealing with here. We'll come back to the nature of suit.
It should be William H. or Henry Cosby.
So let's do. These just kind of look interesting just because of the Bill Cosby. And then we've got William H. Is it Junior?
Don't think so. Could be.
Okay. Again, we don't have to.
Yeah, it might be.
Again, I'd rather be more inclusive rather than less inclusive.
Actually, it is Junior, yes.
Okay. And then, do you want kind of more recent cases, or does it matter to you?
It doesn't matter.
So we've got, for example, the Green versus Cosby case in Massachusetts.
Right.
236 cases. If I wanted to follow it, I'd just simply click follow. If I wanted to dive in and take a look at the sheet, I could do that. As you can see, we have a cached copy of this docket sheet because it just popped right up, but it's telling me that there's 57 new entries available. If I wanted to update it, I just simply hit update. What this means is we're now going directly to the Massachusetts District Court. We're pulling back the results, and then it looks like it just finished here a second ago. Numbers are updating. I can take a look. So, for example, if I was interested in, I don't know, anything that was going on, a bunch of complaints. So, the answer was already part of the system. It's right there. So, one of the things we really try and do is make sure the system is as responsive and fast as possible, just because nobody has time to kind of wait around for this stuff. We can always go back to our results here. And again, if we wanted to begin to break down information based on the types of cases, you could do that. So again, what we're trying to do with this data visualization piece is kind of show you where the hits are coming from, so you get some idea of what the litigation trend is. And then you can see kind of the breakdown, the volume of the filings. Not surprisingly, in the last couple of years, there's a lot more new cases that are being filed against him. Interesting. Looks like there's 2 Green versus Cosby cases. One is miscellaneous and one is the civil case. And then if I wanted to follow either one of these cases, I could say I want to schedule an update. I want to do it every other day. It's now being added to my list of cases. Same thing with this one. Say I want to follow it every other day. My normal pacer fees are going to apply. And now if I go back to the My Cases page, I see the cases right here for me. And then to the extent there are new filings or modified filings, I'll get an email from Pacer Pro. And to the extent the attorneys of record actually have Pacer Pro accounts with the ECF notifications coming in or the NEFs, you'd get updates in absolute real time. Otherwise, you'll get it once a day. So one of the things where, obviously a lot of reporters are interested in getting that up-to-date information, and also you guys have relationships with a lot of these attorneys. To the extent that they're looking to help publicize the information, them using Pacer Pro would be a great way for you guys to get kind of a continuous stream without having to do a lot of the legwork, and also keep down the overall cost for the AP. And again, conceptually, where is that page? Let's do it this way. I assume most of you have access to Chrome and Firefox. If you do, later this week for the feed page, which we haven't fully released yet to the public, you'll be able to get desktop alerts. So you don't necessarily have to have Pacer Pro open and on your desk, but as long as you have a window of it open somewhere, you get those notifications across the screen. And it just makes it easier to kind of access information and clears up your inbox if that's what you want. On the geographic visualization with multi-district. Okay, so the answer to the multi-district question would be it would show up in each of the district courts where it's available or where the cases are filed. Let's see here. Let's go back to Uber. I'll give you a good example. We're not yet plugged into the MDL court. We will later this year. So what you'd be looking at are all the individual district or district courts where the stuff's been filed, but you can begin to look at the cases that have the MD designation. So I'm sure you'd know, right, when you look at the case title or the case number, it says 12 MD. That's a multi-district case. That's been designated by the court that way. And then that's the general information around that. I hope I answered viewer 9's question.
Yes, thank you.
By any chance, can you search by attorney?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So Pacer allows you to search by an individual, like Bill Cosby. It also allows you to search by a company, Apple, Google, etc. And then it also allows you to search by an attorney, which is good because you can't search by law firm. Unless the law firm itself is a party to litigation.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Yeah, and again, to the extent you guys have relationships with attorneys who have in the past wanted to make you aware of cases that they're involved in, getting them on the Pacer Pro system, particularly with the free look stuff, would mean that you'd have just kind of a endless stream of the cases that you're interested in being sent directly to you.
Do you know if any of the federal prosecutors, U.S. attorneys' offices are on Pacer Pro?
The short answer is there are some. We don't have a official relationship with them yet. They tend to move a little bit more slowly when it comes to making decisions about this type of stuff. But they could certainly benefit from it because of the volume of work they have to do in the federal courts. And the fact is everybody kind of has the same system. They get the emails, they have the links, they got to go click on them, they got to look at them, they got to file them. It's just a very time-consuming and kind of error-prone system.
The reason I asked was just because it would be extremely helpful to have, say, certain prosecutors in certain offices have that relationship where they file something and I get it at the same time. You can imagine how many times that could lead to a good story.
Absolutely. What's the best way to put it? What's great about the notices of electronic filing is that no confidential information is passed because the links that are provided don't actually require you to log in. So that's one of the things that there's a bit of a misconception about is that, there's confidential information that the prosecutors may be privy to. That may be true, but it has nothing to do with the way the emails from the courts are being sent out and the way that you're able to access the information as truly a third party coming in.
Okay. I had a question about keyword searches.
Sure.
Is there ever a point where you're able to search documents that you've pulled up if you're looking for one or two narrow subjects and you've got hundreds and hundreds of files? I mean that's not possible, right?
Not right now. We for now just allow you to search across the index, which is the docket entries themselves,
right,
not the underlying documents. Having been involved in the e-discovery process as a lawyer, when you get too many hits without proper context, it just becomes overwhelming. And so, hopefully what you've seen with the service that we have right now, we do try and make it as simple as possible to navigate through the site, because there's nothing more frustrating than working with technology and having it, quickly overwhelming in terms of what it's trying to do. And so,
is there?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Is there a chance you might get to that point at some time where you can look?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
really want to make sure that you have the ability to search across all the documents. I mean, to me, PACER represents this absolutely tremendous opportunity to leverage government data, right? Where cases are being filed, why they're being filed, what the outcomes are, understanding kind of the ins and outs of the court,
Right.
How busy are they, how many motions are currently pending. There's just all these kind of implications as to what this data means, but the first thing you have to do is unlock it. And probably the best way to unlock it is by helping attorneys and people involved in litigation better manage their cases and documents. By doing that, you actually build up an archive that's meaningful, right? As you can see, we're also providing with direct access and better tools to do searching, but it's certainly not, where we'll be in a couple years from now.
Got it. Thanks.